What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 109 of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. I appreciate you listening. So please like, subscribe, follow, and share the link with your friends, or click on the support link in this episode's description. Your donation of any amount could change a life. When we come back, we'll get into this episode entitled, Love Yourself. Welcome back to episode 109 of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast entitled, Love Yourself. I want to give a big welcome to my friends in recovery from the U.S., South Africa, and Australia for their participation in this group. Well, guys, it's been a few weeks, but we're back together again, so here goes your topic for this week around love yourself. I'm going to read a few quotes to you, and what I'd like each of you to do is pick one and then give me your thoughts on that. You ready? The first quote is by Brené Brown. It says, "Talk to yourself like someone you love." The second one by Robert Morley, quote, "To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness." The third one by Mariam Hasna, quote, "Love yourself. Be clear on how you want to be treated. Know your worth always." And the fourth and final one, "The real difficulty in self-love is combating the inner critic who goes against our own wishes by challenging our own beliefs. You know you're worthy of love, but the critic keeps reminding you of the past pain that you can't let go of." And that quote's anonymous, guys. Who would like to start us off today? Ben, I see you're ready. Yeah, David, great topic. And I like the quote by Brené Brown, "Talk to yourself like someone you love." That's it right there for me. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but if I talk to everyone else the way I usually talk to myself in my own head, I would be the most discouraging, negative, pessimistic individual on the face of the earth. I'm really good at helping other people see the positive, optimistic side of who they are and where they're going, with an emphasis of not bringing up their past. However, when it comes to yours truly, I pick myself apart with such negativity, and usually it's sad. However, I won't entirely conclude that I am always negative. I know that being positive and loving myself is what the Lord has fought me tooth and nail to do all these years. I don't know why it's so hard to see myself through the eyes of Jesus, but when I take time to do that, it's a game changer. I guess in conclusion, what I'm saying is that something I've definitely not mastered is loving myself. I bounce back and forth from loving myself to hating myself constantly, all day, every day. I also believe that this is something that could really change my outlook on everything if I would just do it. I think one of the quickest ways to relapse is to beat ourselves up. I'm going to try to put the baseball bat down. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to try to sell that baseball bat. Good word there, Ben. And let me know when you list your baseball bat online. I'll see if I can get some buyers for you. Gary, what's quote reached out to you? Well, David, I immediately related to the quote by Mariam Hasna, which says, "Love yourself, be clear on how you want to be treated, know your worth always." And for as long as I remember, stretching back to my childhood years, I did not like myself. In fact, I did not know myself and where I fit in. The phrase from this quote, "know your worth," really struck a chord with me. I was made to feel worthless by a father who made it very clear to me that he never wanted children. And despite doing all I could to win his approval, I only received coldness and rejection. This had the effect of instilling within me the belief that I was not good enough as a son and never would be. I basically despised myself and set out to justify this by going completely off the rails on a path of self-destruction. A dishonorable discharge from military duty and 10 years in an ultra-maximum security prison was where that chosen path led me to. Fortunately, now many years later, through giving my life to God and a frank appraisal of myself, I'm finally starting to love myself and find worthiness in finding purpose and definite direction in life, that being serving God completely. Thanks, Gary. That's a good comment that you have there of how that relationship with your father and learning to know your worth really sounds like a key to your healing. Charlie, which quote jumped out to you? David, for me, it was one by Robert Morley. To fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. You see, I recently did a teaching on the 12th step from AA, helping others follow a spiritual experience and carrying these principles in all of our affairs. When we're broken, how can we help another? I must love first. So, what is the spiritual experience that we go through in recovery? It is the love of Jesus first. What principles am I carrying into all my affairs? Well, it is the principle of love my loved ones. I'd say love is the first secret because from the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And the furthest distance traveled is that from our hearts to our minds. You can't give away what you do not have. So yeah, love is the first secret that opens the door to God's promises and the way to a new life in recovery. I say to the newcomer in recovery who thinks they are a lover, not a fighter, learn to love differently, my love. Good challenge there. I really like that, Charlie, as words to the newcomers. Dante, how about you? Yeah, I use this same quote by Robert Morley, to fall in love with yourself is the first secret to happiness. But for me, it comes with a warning, because self-love could also be the first step to a life of great conceit and self-centeredness. You see, the problem for me with self-love is it puts all the focus on you and not on God and not on other people who were put in your life to serve. It is more appropriate for me personally to say that knowing and understanding your worth, that you are loved before a holy God, and that understanding what He has done for you is a more full and whole place to start. So I'd say to my brothers here in this group, if you're dealing with destructive thoughts, unhealthy behaviors, or toxic relationships, you do need help out of that. And good counselors and groups like this are the things that are able to help you walk through your problems in a healthy manner. So for me, to indulge in myself is to start sliding down a slippery slope of a life centered around me. In fact, I have to look at my priorities and how I fit in with others so that I find a greater depth of life experience fulfilling and serving others. Thanks, Dante. That's a great perspective. Harry, you look ready. Yes, David, the one quote that stands out for me is the anonymous one, which is the real difficulty in self-love is combating the inner critic who goes against our own wishes by challenging our own beliefs. You know you're worthy of love, but the critic keeps reminding you of the past and that you can't let go of. Well, you see, guys, for me, the inner critic has always been my worst challenge. I was always putting myself down, and I keep telling myself that I'm unworthy to be loved and trusted again because of the history of wrongdoings and petty crimes under my belt. So I still find myself struggling with that inner critic. So this has been a great wake-up call for me. Thanks, guys. Eddie, you want to close this out? Yes, David, and I agree with Harry. I'm going to use that same quote. For me, that inner critic voice, that's one of my biggest problems I've been facing since forever. I've always struggled with self-confidence and self-esteem. They've both been really low. Probably struggling from my childhood peers and into my adult friendships during my addiction. I find myself being too critical and judgmental on myself, my peers, and my relationships. As a result, trust issues seem to be my biggest issues. I struggle to trust my partner. The inner voice is always concocting thoughts and scenarios in my head. This is taking serious strain on my marriage and my family. At work, everyone is trying to bring me down and not allowing me to grow. Or so I think. It's that inner voice. It's constantly talking. So the struggle of self-love and deeper love to others continues. And David, I wasn't aware of this voice as deeply until now. So thank you for bringing it up. But I guess a question I have is now, how do I control it, David? Well, guys, a lot of good words there. And I think in response to those last words from Eddie, how do we deal with this stuff now? How do we control this stuff? I've got two more quotes for you guys and for all of our listeners. The first one is an anonymous quote which says, "Unconditional self-love is all that really matters in life. It's where life, real life, begins." So I want to ask you guys, can you get to the place where you truly practice and walk in unconditional love for yourself, for your past, and for your present? And from that place of forgiveness and unconditional love for yourself, can you begin to walk with unconditional love for everyone in your life and the new friends you will meet in the future, and to see how you can be a service to them, as Dante reminded us? So, how do we start this walk towards unconditional love? Well, the last quote for today comes from Queen Bey. And she said, quote, "Me, myself, and I, that's all I got in the end. That's what I found out. And it ain't no need to cry. I took a vow from now on, I'm going to be my own best friend." I agree with those words of Queen Bey. The journey to self-love and unconditional love for yourself and others begins with becoming your own best friend. Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. If you would like to join an online group or get one-on-one counseling to help you as you learn to love yourself and others, please message me on the link in this podcast or by email at davidfroma2d@gmail.com, or go to my website, www.froma2d.org, and click on the contact page. You can keep in touch with what we're doing in From A to D by following me on Instagram at davidfroma2d. Tune in Monday for our next episode, and as always, stay safe and stay strong.